Welcome to Men Are Forged Podcast. This is Cartwright Morris, your host. Excited to have you in today. If this is your first time listening, go to menareforged.com and subscribe. You'll just put your email in and you'll get updates about how I am helping men advance into manhood. I do this through my coaching, through the courses, and soon I'll be doing this through challenges of ways to help you to take action, find purpose, and build strong mindsets towards your present and your future. So please go to menareforged.com and subscribe today. Now here is today's episode. All right, well, welcome to Men Are Forged Podcast. I got Zac Juergensen. I'm making sure I say that right.
Nailed
it. Nailed it. I'm excited to dive in. I just started, found this guy. His podcast is ZACdiyWealth, which I had to look it up what DIY meant. Do it yourself, which is so obvious. Yeah. I kind of laughed at myself a little bit. I'm like, that's so obvious. But anyway, he's got a credible story, and we're going to dive in. And Zac, thanks for being here, man, from Phoenix.
Yeah, happy to be here. I'm really happy with what you're doing. We already talked about, some of your audience space. And so, younger men, that maybe some of you maybe don't have the most direction in life. Some of you maybe have direction, but maybe career-wise, you're not sure what you're wanting to do. And, as time marches on for, individuals like you, Cartwright, and myself, we're able to look at things in hindsight and provide valuable pieces of content for, kids in their early 20s, and even people in their 30s, and even people in their 40s. But being able to have someone dial in and tune into people that are a little bit older, and provide some information about maybe what would have I done in the past, or here's a piece of information that would have been really important for me growing up as a kid.
Yeah, that's good. So let's just start there, man. What was some of the early influence? What I think your story I've read where it starts kind of around 19 and kind of the awakening then. What kind of led up to that point? What was kind of your early, that's probably the best way to say it, just influence, how it shaped your thinking, your poor thinking or good thinking, and what led you to that point at 19? Yeah.
Yeah. So for the audience, if you really want to get a better grasp on kind of like my life and the challenges I've had to overcome and things like that, go ahead and head over to my first episode where I talk about that. But, to encapsulate things, didn't grow up in a very good household. Child abuse was present. There was a very toxic ideology of what religion is and how it should be utilized as a tool in one's life, and how to observe other people. And most of the time that was in a negative light if it didn't align with religious scripture. And, that growing up in that didn't give me a very good framework or baseline for what love is, because I'm born into religion that's showing me to hate my biological father. I'm born into religion. I'm born into a family where there's arguing all the time. I'm born into an environment where child abuse is happening, where the norm is screaming negative interactions with parents, constantly getting in trouble because it's misguided energy in myself. So again, I still am very much at 31 trying to gain a better baseline of what appropriate love looks like. Because you can also love something and love it to your fullest extent, but it can be a very toxic relationship as well. So merging the idea of, okay, I clearly know what love isn't at this point, but also not redlining too much on, okay, this is love. And you're giving someone your absolute all, but if the love isn't being reciprocated there, maybe that's not the best form of love to exist in your world. So I've had a very hard time figuring that out in a very skewed format of what that looks like. Because of that, I didn't really have an idea of what maybe something successful and tangible like that looks like. So I correlated a lot of movies and social norms and economic norms to success with money. You look at a lot of TV shows and movies on Hollywood, and, people that are happy, people that are doing well in life, people that have it all, these are the people that have money. So I'm like, okay, well, that's the problem here in this family. We don't have lots of money,
Yeah.
And so that's why this love stuff isn't happening. And so I latched onto that. And that's what helped me pursue so aggressively where I've gotten to this self-made millionaire status at such a young age. But with that said, as I got closer and closer to getting there, I wasn't feeling these things. So I was like, something's wrong here. So I had to make another paradigm shift, which we can go down the road once we start talking about experiences that changed your life and some other things that you like to talk about on this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you don't have to answer, but I'm just curious, what was your religious background? What was it?
Yeah, sure. And again, I'm a complete open book at this point in my life. Like, you want to talk about anything, let's talk about anything. And if it helps someone, I'm here for it. So it was Lutheranism. And I don't know if we had a skewed Lutheranism where I grew up, but it's a subsect of Christianity. Mm-hmm. And the church we went to, I mean, like every Sunday, it was just basically the pastor was like, you're a piece of shit. You should forgive. You should ask for forgiveness. You're a worthless creature. You don't even deserve to be alive right now. Like, ask for forgiveness, do better, be better, and then come back next Sunday. And by the way, I'm going to tell you, you're just a total piece of trash again.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, so already like you're priming a whole congregation to just feel miserable about themselves and children too. And I'm just like looking back at it as an adult, it's just like, man, like, and again, you can't fault people because they don't know what they don't know and they're born into it. But like at a certain age as an adult, it falls on you to start enriching and enhancing your perspectives and be a better person in the world.
Yeah, that's good. It's funny you mentioned Lutheran. I mean, wasn't that BTK killer? He was at a Lutheran church, like a president of his congregation. I just watched a documentary.
That sounds familiar. What was the BTK again?
So he was a serial killer in Wichita, and he was the president of his Lutheran church.
Yep.
So anyway,
yeah, great mascot there. So
yes. But I think that's a lot of my listeners, including myself. I mean, we've been in religious backgrounds where they've used it for abuse, whether it is physical or emotional, and it created unhealthy thought processes and mindsets where, it doesn't create growth. It doesn't create lifelong change. It doesn't impact people and make you want to serve. It makes you want to hide and actually push people away.
Dig in, segregate, things like that. And, something I want to clarify too, like I just got done knocking religion pretty hard. Mm-hmm. You have to understand duality exists in everything. Okay. So for as much of a bad experience I had, there are people in this world that go into the right congregations that have the right message, the right leadership, and it does a lot for them. It helps them grow. It helps them be a better person. And like, you need to understand that exists with everything, even if you've had a negative interaction with it. Mm-hmm. One of the examples I like to give people is vehicles. Are engines and vehicles great pieces of technology? Have they produced a lot of ability for us to move forward as a society and do better and have logistics? And now I can go to the grocery store and buy bananas in Arizona, which they only grow in tropical climates. Yeah, that's an amazing piece of technology. Were engines also used to fuel World War II, tanks, airplanes, and ended up killing millions of people and towns and innocent lives? Absolutely. Duality exists with the invention of engines. And so you have to be able, moving into life, especially as a younger person who has maybe had a negative experience with something and a negative predisposition for that automatically, you have to move off of that and understand, even though I had a negative experience with XYZ ... ABC, this scenario, that scenario, there is good that exists in this duality too. I just unfortunately got the bad duality of this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, smartphones, right? That's in itself.
Yep.
We get so many great benefits, but also we're seeing many other just,
any type of technology, any type of religion, any type of value, belief, whatever it may be, for as much good that exists, there's also bad that exists with it.
Today's episode is brought to you by Thrive Marriage Lab. If you want your marriage to thrive, this is a great opportunity to you. Because strong marriages are the bedrock of strong churches, organization, families, and community. This is a 12-month pathway for any of you that are looking to really have weekly engagement with experienced marriage counselors. Not just one, but many. So go to restory.life/thrive to get on the waiting list for this great program that starts in April. That's restory.life/thrive. And make sure you put the word Forge in the promo code to receive a discount on your monthly fee. Now, back to the episode.
That's good. Yeah, that's a healthy perspective. So when did you start realizing, man, this is an abusive culture, or I need to put a lot of what I had growing up down and start, building my own mindset in my own life?
So that didn't really happen until about the third year in the Marine Corps after we got back from a deployment in Afghanistan.
So you graduated high school and went in the Marines?
Graduated high school, went right into the Marines. And again, at the time, like, I didn't have a baseline like other families really well and stuff like that. I was aware enough where I needed to get out of my town because my GPA was not good. And I knew a college wasn't going to take some kid getting in trouble all the time with a low GPA. So I was aware enough to go, okay, if I don't do the military or do something that gets me out of this current framework, I'm going to be stuck doing nothing with my life, working at a gas station and having 2 baby mamas. And sure as rain, the people that didn't end up staying in my hometown are doing something very similar to that. Some of them, not all of them, but I would have been one of those statistics. I didn't want to be a statistic. So pushed right into the military. And even with the military, after getting out, I didn't look back on it until years later going, man, there is a lot of toxic masculinity stuff that exists within this space, now compounded on top of my skewed idea of what a family looks like, because I don't want to deal with family stuff. I grew up in it and it sucked.
Right.
That's me. Like, there was someone else in this world that had an amazing time with their family growing up, and they love it and they cherish it. And so, all of these things really didn't come into fruition on my end with the schism or the paradigm shift until one of the individuals in my unit passed away with the bomb dog. And he was 21. And then that's what clicked in my head. I was like, holy shit, tomorrow's not guaranteed for you. You literally every day is an absolute privilege. And in Americans, myself included, until I went over there, are the absolute worst at not being content, not being grateful, not being joyful for the things they have. At the end of the day, you, me, a homeless person on the side of a highway right now in your hometown has access to fresh water in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I bared witness to people that are living in such backward times relative to all of the blessings and opportunities we have here in America: air conditioning, toilet stalls, rugs, house, food in your belly. We don't have to go fucking spend 4 hours round trip to get a jug of water. Yeah. And again, just like the example I gave with, people being born into the congregation where I grew up, you don't know what you don't know. You're just born into it, Right. But between that and watching the loss of life of someone so young that was close to people within my unit, it was just a huge awakening in me. And I was like, I need to start applying myself to things. I need to start learning how to be more grateful for things. And the grateful stuff really didn't start happening. The grateful stuff was there, but I was coming at it from the wrong angle. I was angry with other Americans. I was angry with other people because they weren't being grateful for the things they have, rather than, again, the more balanced perspective I have now that they don't know what they don't know. They haven't been over to a third world country, so I can't get mad at them or fault them for the way they're thinking. But I can assure them, if I talk to them or they go experience something like that, it will create a more enhanced and enriched perspective on their life to be able to live a more wealthier life. And we can get into the definition of what wealth is for me later in the episode.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're gratitude, that's an interesting word, just that standing out. And you kind of mentioned also just and then the anger. And I think that for a lot of young guys, was there a level of even I'm trying to think, not justified, but there's a level of valuing, man, I need to express a little bit of this frustration and this anger. And I don't know if being in the military allowed that, or maybe that's sort of coming out in your creative space when you got home.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I get what you're trying to articulate. I wouldn't say there was value in it. Yeah. It was more of, I have pent up rage. I am frustrated. I have all this steam. Something's got to give here. Yeah. So obviously military, especially the Marines, they value, a lot of hate, rage, anger, like caged animal, that's what you need to be in order to function and do things out there. And that was it a steam outlet for me after growing up and moving into that? Yes, a portion of it was. Did it only compound the problem further, especially after I got out into the civilian world? Oh, absolutely. You would not even recognize me. I mean, in my mid-20s, my mom came out here to Phoenix and someone was riding my ass too hard on the highway. I literally stopped my car on the highway and started slamming on this person, so did their car. Like, that's how much anger and frustration existed in my world, where like I didn't care. And I had half of a death wish because it was just like, this is the only framework I know how to operate out of. And it's out of hatred, rage, mistrust, frustration, disappointment in family members, disappointment in wars and theaters, and like seeing all this pain and suffering. And like, I got to somehow wake up every morning and be happy. Like, how do you do that? Unless, but again, you don't know what you don't know. So to your point, yes. Would I have considered it a value? No, I consider it more of an ultimatum, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't release some of this steam, something worse is even going to happen.
Yeah. So how did you start really learning how to manage that? I guess that's early 20s.
No. Yeah. I wasn't managing my emotions, my anger, my stress, anything very well up until about like probably a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And a lot of that is due in part to psychedelics. Psychedelics for me has been a huge ability to deep dive into your brain and work on things you didn't even know you could be working on. And the best analogy I could give for it is, let's say you own a building, okay? And you have some things wrong with the building. And maybe you don't know everything that's wrong with the building, but you know there's things wrong with it. So what do? You go hire an electrician, you go hire a drywall guy, you go hire a plumber, and you go, hey, I need you to get into this building and fix these things, okay? And they go do it, and they fix it, okay? The plumber and the electrician and all these people in this analogy are people like doctors and psychiatrists and psychologists. You can hire them, and they can go in there, and they can take care of things. Psychedelics is an analogy for me best described as the brain is my building. And instead of professionally hiring people, I have all the professional tools in my belt because I am me and I understand my brain better than anyone else. I'm going to hire myself to go into the building and fix everything that's wrong with it. That's probably the best way I can is that even a word? Analogize? I think that's a word. That's the best way I can paint an analogy for what psychedelics allows you to do. It allows you to go into the building of your brain, not hire a professional, you be the professional, and go in there and start looking at some of this stuff in there and rewiring it.
Interesting. Because my curiosity is taking over here. I'm just curious. So how did you how did you figure out that was a way to do it? Did you stumble upon it? And then how do you do that with control? Because I think psychedelics, out of control.
Yeah. So with everything I'm stating, there's definitely probably a way more of an appropriate way to go about doing it than I did it. But I tried it. I stumbled across it. I tried it by happenstance. And, can people have complete psychotic breaks from this stuff? Absolutely. I'm not denying that. There is a risk associated with that. So go do your research, go make sure that you're under the correct supervision before you start entertaining and looking at any of this stuff. Because I will admit, there were some times where I did heavier doses and I went deep into some scary holes and scary places, but I came out of it with unboxed things that I hadn't previously taken care of before. And I came out of it with more enhanced knowledge of what a tool like psychedelics can do for you and a better idea of what a proper dosaging is. Now, again, can a doctor help guide all of that? Yes. But at the end of the day, you are unique in your own chemical makeup and how you're going to chemically respond to things, just like someone else is different and someone else is different. It's as unique as a fingerprint. That's why when doctors dose people with Western medicine and pharmaceuticals, it's not a one size fits all. Some people need lighter doses. Some people need heavier doses. For this person, this doesn't even work because their receptors aren't receiving it. Now they need this thing. It is such a complex web. You can have bumper rails up and these professionals can help you. But at the end of the day, if you're not taking note of how you're feeling, and being honest with yourself and understanding I'm the real professional here, not you, because it's my body And it's my ability to enhance or deteriorate myself based on some of the things I'm prescribing myself.
So what was one of the bigger revelations you found out about yourself and really fixed?
One of them was done in a bit of a group setting, and I had taken a heavier dose, and for whatever reason, tears just started streaming down my eyes, and I was just overcome with complete pain and agony and suffering, and I absolutely hated it. And, I was sitting on a little bit of a swing or whatever, and I was just looking down at it, and I'm just talking about all the pain I have in me and why it exists in me in such gargantuan detail relative to what I feel other people feel, and just started really punching the wooden swing really hard. And I just screamed to my friends, like, I feel like a caged animal all the time. And sometimes I'm allowed to go out and play, and other times I got to go back to being miserable in this cage, just like a dog would. And it's something I never really realized or had a realization of until that moment. And once I had that moment, then I started going, who is the person that's trying to allow me to get back into the cage or open the cage? I still don't 100% have the question to that answer, but I know whatever that thing is or was, it understood, I communicated to it, and it opened the cage. And so again, some of this stuff sounds super hippy dippy, like I get it. But we are not the pinnacle of existence in this world. We just aren't. We're a very small speck on a huge timeline across many, many, many different universes. And we're just in this one right now. Like, I think people lose sight of, like, we're part of this system. We're part of the ecosystems that exist. We work in tandem with the animals, the trees, the grass, the water, the land, and, do we abuse that? I think we have been abusing that a lot. But communicating with that larger consciousness or essence or God or spirituality or however you want to brand or word that, I very much think something like that does exist. And tapping into things like psychedelics allows you to not only connect with that, but communicate with that, if that makes sense, without sounding too completely insane.
Hey, we can get weird, Zach. We can get weird if we need to.
I like to get weird. Like, I want good content. I don't want to sit here and, have a monotone conversation and no one gets anything out of it. Like,
exactly.
If this is something someone's listening to and they want to do some more research on it, reach out to me. Like, I will provide you with articles and resources and things like that and point you in the right direction. But overarchingly, after, having a conversation and talking about this, don't go run off and do something so off the reservation or off script. Like, you need to understand duality.
Yeah.
So for just as good as psychedelics were for me, there's someone in this world that had a complete psychotic break with it, and they will never be the same.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I do kind of give a little quick plug. Yeah. So Zac Juergensen.com. If you want to reach actually Zac on there, you can even send a voice message to him. So, So on that note, yeah, I mean, so you had this connection of spirituality to religion growing up, and it was bad.
Correct.
So yes. How's your spirit view of spirituality changed?
Yeah. So growing up, religion for me, hard no. And I would literally look at it and I'm like, religion's stupid. Like, look at all these crusades that were fought, wars fought, people dying over like land that's supposed to be holy and this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, there's no good that comes from it. And it's because I had that negative experience. And as a young kid without a balanced perspective, I'm just thinking all religion's bad. Do I think Christianity, I think other religions exist for a reason. Do I think most religions in some format somewhere with some type of wrong leadership has gotten contorted, twisted, and gnarled up in a way that segregates us as people instead of brings us together through love, connection, kindness, understanding, and wanting to be one's neighbor? Yes, absolutely. With that said, I still feel religion needs to exist with good leadership, vulnerability, and transparency in place. And those are the places where people can really gain and get a lot out of religion. With that said, am I a religious person? No. Am I a spiritual person? Absolutely. would I lean more towards Eastern philosophy? Yes. But I still don't even sit 100% in Eastern philosophy either, because it's religion. So, I acknowledge there's something greater than us. And my theory is it's a collective consciousness. How it's manifested into this physical world, I don't have the answer to that. That's the $1 trillion question. Why does all of this exist? Right. But that's probably somewhere where I sit. I probably lean more towards Eastern religion, but I don't identify with religion. I am a spiritual person.
Yeah. But you, and so just for my audience, you would say a objective pursuit towards finding out if there is a God and why we exist is a very healthy thing for anybody in their 20s, 30s, whatever.
As long as it doesn't become an obsession, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
And what do you mean by that?
Yeah. The guy that wrote the Book of Mormon and all that stuff, like a lot of people don't realize, like he used to be a snake oil salesman, and then like that didn't work out for him. So now he went and did that. And like, are there people that have benefited from Mormonism? Sure. But that obsession created an entire new religion that was fabricated off of the thoughts of, I forget what his name was, Joseph Smith or John Smith or something like that. And that didn't exist too long ago. I mean, that guy was alive, 300 years ago? Somewhere
it was right before Civil War. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So even less. Yeah. So like, we're not talking about Jesus Christ, who existed, in BC time. And again, we could go into a lot of details on who maybe Jesus Christ was. He was maybe more of an enlightened individual rather than maybe a God sense. He could have been a God. He could have been an alien. Like we don't know. Okay. And we will never know. And so the fact that we will never know what is, the fact that we currently exist is as right now, and the fact that we have a few decades on this earth, and to think you're going to 100% figure out what spirituality is or whether a God exists or something like that over the course of a few decades of your life, on a bell curve, I would say statistically, you're probably not going to be the one. But I think it's healthy to observe these things and make sure you're understanding there's something greater and bigger than you that exists in the world.
Yeah. Which gives now meaning to life here.
Correct. Which not only gives more meaning to life here, mm-hmm. but also helps to empathize with other people, helps you not dig in on stuff, helps you go, okay, maybe I don't agree with you on everything, but let me hear your perspective. And who knows, even after 20 minutes of debating, now you have an enhanced perspective because that person was able to explain something appropriately that connected in your brain. And now because of that, you're able to walk away from that conversation with as a bigger person, a better person, and one with more awareness and, like I said, empathy and the ability to connect with people. Because I think that's what we're losing a lot in the world right now, especially if you look at the CNN narrative and the Fox News narrative and like left wing, right wing, I'm right, you're wrong. I don't even want to listen to anything you have to say. I'm going to dig in and spit on your face. And it's just like, we're going about this wrong. Yeah, we're absolutely going about this wrong. I want to be your neighbor. Yeah, I want to help you understand how I can help you be my neighbor and be other people's neighbors. And, to certain narratives and to certain people in power and to certain, wealth consolidation stuff. Is that a scary thought of everyone unifying? Yeah, probably, because what's the term? Divide and conquer.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, there's a lot you just said that kind of sparks things, because I mean, that's what is the big difference between Eastern and Western, and just really how we learn. It's like the Western didactic, it's really guy in front of the room who knows everything. It's all about right and wrong. I'm smarter than you. And then versus Eastern, it's like we throw text in the middle of the room and let's all get around it and discuss it. Like no matter where you are in life, and let's engage. And like, I just, that stuff I get, it's more relational. It's more engaging. Yeah. The more opinions, the better,
Yeah. And with that said too, for every good Eastern culture or ideology or stereotype that you provided right there, there's extremists that exist too. Like Islam is very extreme. We went over there. Like there are very young men willing to die for ideas that have never been proven other than my dad told me or this book told me. So
they're willing to kill.
Exactly. They're willing to blow themselves up. Like, but with that said, like there's Christian churches that exist in America. And if you step foot on their property and you don't believe everything they say to a word, they will shoot you on sight. There is extremists that exist very much in America as well. And so again, to your point, it's just, let's lay all this down. Let's all come to the table and talk. Instead of this idea of I'm right, you're wrong. Let me tell you why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. All right. Well, man, we can sit there exhausted. I really love it. This talk, this topic, but I was really curious about how wealth really started getting into your mindset, and really how did that change, and how did that get, where you are now?
So the biggest, if we've already covered a lot of very good topics. So if people need to come back and redigest this episode, you absolutely should. Mm-hmm. But one of the biggest things that I want you to take away, and the thing I'm blasting on my hill and trying to share message wise, is if you look up the definition of wealth, okay, the definition of wealth says an abundance of resources. For whatever reason, from generation to generation to generation to generation, we have gotten further and further off of maybe what that true definition is. What do we associate wealth with today? Money, objects, things, metal, coins, boats, cars, houses, and is that, are those items of wealth? Yes. But what is the definition? Is the definition an abundance of objects? No, it's an abundance of resources. Is love a resource? Is contentment a resource? Is joy a resource? These are all very real resources that exist in our world, even though we can't actually feel them or see them. So wealth is an abundance of resources, both seen and unseen. I focused very heavily on the idea of the traditional sense of wealth that we've been growing up and living in, which is money, objects, things, houses, cars. As I got closer and closer to that $1 million mark, which I said, then I'll be happy, then I'll be content, because then I'll be like all those other people I saw growing up, the rich ones on the Hollywood shows and everything like that. As I got closer and closer, why am I not feeling happy? Why am I not content? Why am I not joyful? I'm getting closer and closer to this amazing goal that I'm hitting at such a young age that some people aren't even going to see until they're 40, 50, maybe even 60, maybe never even in their entire life. Yeah. Why am I not happy? And that's when I realized something's wrong again, and I need to start figuring it out. So leading up to me leaving my job, I got invested heavily in reading, Eastern medicine and Eastern religion, and stumbled into psychedelics by chance, whether that was by design of the world's destiny for me, or it was just, a complete random coincidence. I don't know, but these things aligned leading up to this $1 million. And I said, you know what? $1 million is going to turn into 2 turns going to 4 is going to turn into 8 to 10, a 10 to 100, 100 to 200, 500 to say, it never stops. And so you need to learn what enough is financially for yourself. And taking some time and sitting in your thoughts and identifying that is hard. And it's a scary thought, because you're born into a world that tells you what? Work, do, achieve, consume, promotion, work, do, achieve, consume, promotion, consume, achieve, consume. It just doesn't stop. And there are people that have grown up their entire lives not even thinking for a moment about the creative things they want to go pour and do and give back into society. So wealth, there's financial wealth, there's social wealth, friendships, relationships, things that you cannot purchase. There's physical wealth, going to the gym, eating right, staying healthy. You can't buy that shit. And then there's time wealth, and time wealth is the absolute most important wealth. It's not money wealth. And so you have all of these wealths that encompass things. And so once you have enough money, time wealth becomes more important. If you have time and you have money, but you don't have friends, social wealth now becomes more important for you. This is a pie chart that you need to balance out, not just redline on money pursuits like I did for a decade.
Yeah. Huh. And so when did that start? Oh man, I feel you. It sounds like in the last 2 years, you've had a lot of these revelations and this meaning. Correct. And it's what led you where you are right now. Yep. But so did you feel like coming out of the military that you didn't know how to make money, or do you feel like that was a part of you? Or did you just get a job and just start grinding?
Yeah, that's something I got really good at doing, because again, you got to understand, I didn't have a lot of friends. I moved to a new state right out of the Marines. I'm not close to my family. So I never felt an obligation to go fly back home and see them or spend the holidays with them and stuff like that. So I went to college, and while I was going to college, I started a real estate business, scaled that up, but again, I wasn't anointed with tons of money. Okay. Mm-hmm. It comes down to the financial behavior change that helps get you to where I'm at. And so, my first year in real estate, I made 18 grand and I was working 40, 50 hour weeks. But again, I didn't know what I didn't know. I've never sold anything before. Now I'm learning, okay, I got my first deal done. How did I get that done? I got that person's email and I got that person's phone number. Okay. So moving forward, when I'm in front of people, I need to try and get cell phone numbers and emails. Okay. I lost that person to a piece of business. Why did I lose that? They said I didn't follow up with them enough. Okay. Now I need to set up a follow-up schedule. Like, I didn't know anything about building a business or selling real estate, but then 18,000 turned into 40. And 40 turned into 72, and 72 turned into 90, and 90 turned into 120. And then I made a shift into medical device sales because I was feeling unfulfilled in the real estate sales space. But again, there was no playbook that I went by. Like, I was sitting there fumbling and tripping and crawling. And then I got back up to walking, and then I got tripped again. And then I was back to crawling. And so, for younger people and older people, listening to this episode, like, if you're struggling somewhere professionally, like, you can reach out to me and I can maybe help identify a few things for you, because I built a real estate business. Okay. I was in the military, super disciplined, regimented things, which are very key to the consistency of success in your life. And then I moved over to field sales for a medical device company, which treated me very well. But again, my heart and my mind started misaligning with this idea of, you're just going to continue doing this for the rest of your life, climbing the corporate ladder and stuff like that. And I finally bowed out of that. And now I'm building this podcast, and through it, whether you're 20 or whether you're 40 listening to this, there are stacked skills that you are gaining throughout your life that are helping you get to wherever you're trying to get to right now. I would not have been able to successfully build this podcast if I wouldn't have done real estate for 5 years, or if I would have done medical devices. If I would have immediately just tried to do this, it probably would have been a big failure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you mentioned financial behavior changes. What's been your biggest financial behavior change?
I mean, the biggest thing is just know where your dollars are going. Like, be aware. Like, look at your bank statements. Where is the money going? I provide financial coaching, and I also give all of my positions on an Excel spreadsheet that I update monthly on Patreon. And it's $10.56 a month, the cost of literally a Starbucks breakfast, including tax in the state of Arizona. But I am doing one-on-one financial coaching with people that are signing up for this service. And we're really going in and saying, why did, I'm just going to make up a name. Why did Jane buy this dress? Even though she knew it was going to be out of her budget. Well, because she wanted it. Well, why did you want it? Because it was going to make me feel pretty. Well, why did you think that this dress was going to make you feel pretty? Why don't you already feel pretty? And so I'm going 3, 4, 5 layers deeper with people, instead of, a lot of financial coaches are just going to look at the number. And I don't even like to consider myself a financial coach. I just want to help you. Okay. I just want to help you. And you're not serious about getting help if you can't forego the cost of one Starbucks breakfast. But I'm going a few levels deeper. And now we're getting to the understanding of why this behavior even ended up happening, and you ended up buying the dress and blowing the budget.
Are you finding when you start getting in the people you help, like when you start getting in layers deep, there's a constant theme with a lot of these people?
You find that, but in different areas with people.
Yeah.
Okay. So with men, maybe there's a masculinity issue here, and that's why they're going out on so many dates and spending so much money on dates, because they need to be perceived amongst their groups of friends that he's killing it. He's going on 4 or 5 dates a week, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, the person's feeling empty and hollow, but they're keeping up an external narrative that exists in their world that they didn't even make up. And that's what a lot of people do to themselves. When I see a real nice car drive by, or when a girl sees a nice purse on another girl, the immediate thought isn't, oh man, that person is probably so cool, I need to be their friend. No, they don't give a fuck about the person. They think about how great the bag is and how much they want the bag. They think about how cool the car is and how cool they would be sitting in it. So a lot of the objects we're purchasing aren't even to validate our existence to other people, but we think that in our head. And then that thought process continues. And now you pair that idea, which is pretty common in everyone, with certain behavior change, with certain behaviors that have been created in one's life, or insecurities that have been created in one's life. And that therefore then controls the reins of the financial spending behaviors.
Yeah. So how does somebody, I'm trying to think how do I best phrase this question, but yeah, how does somebody then have, shoot, Zach, I lost my question because it was something related.
Dude, it happens, man, because no, go ahead. Continue.
Yeah. Is there something you said got me really excited? Because how does someone, this is what it was. How does someone come so aware that their wealth building or financial growth motivations is external and actually start building wealth, the abundance of resources from an internal place?
So it's going to come from one of the two places. You're either going to have a massively traumatic event or schism or paradigm shift personally, or you're going to have someone like Cartwright or someone like Zach come into your life and go, here are some tools I have. Let me share them with you. Yeah. Those are the only two ways this happens. And for me, fortunately, it happened through massive paradigm shifts that happened at the right place and right time for me. So what I'm out here doing is going, hey, these are the things that happen to me. I guarantee you got some stuff like this going on too. Let me help you get to a better place in life financially, but let me also pair it with deeper and better philosophical thought. That way you're merging these things and living truly your wealthiest life. Because there's people in this world that have $500, $600 million and they're not happy. They're not happy. They wake up disgruntled and mad. And I have had experiences with friends that no other person will have. And I have reached levels of happiness and joyness from the people I've surrounded myself in Phoenix that even if I lost all of my money tomorrow, I still have tons of derived happiness and fulfillment through the social connections that I've made. And so learning to balance all that out. And like I said, I was the guy that redlined on finances. I want to help you get there because it's a very important area to get to. Once you don't have to worry about money coming in, I think this world could be a very beautiful place if people focused on what my definition of wealth was and they poured their creative juices into doing the things that they really love and feel like they can contribute, whether that's music, podcasting, building a new piece of technology, giving back to their community, building a house for the homeless, like whatever it may be, whatever your thing is, if you're doing it not for money anymore, but because you genuinely enjoy it and you have money coming in, that's where I want everyone to ultimately get to. And to get to that level requires a reasonable amount of financial freedom. Not this idea that I need to hamster wheel my whole damn life doing one thing and not being happy doing it.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. So I'll ask the $1 million question.
Nice. No pun intended.
Yeah. How did you get to be, as you said, unplugged or at 31 retired?
Yeah. So, okay. So there's one thing I heavily believe in, and opportunity is you're able to harness opportunity when preparation meets luck. Okay. Yeah. If Bill Gates would have been born in the 1800s, would Bill Gates be Bill Gates? No, he wouldn't have had the framework to become Bill Gates. Yeah. There was luck involved there. Okay. It was just right place, right time. However, he went to school for computer sciences. And because he did that, he spent 4 years preparing for the lucky opportunity of being born at the time he was born with the advent of technology and the way it was moving to then create this large, massive opportunity that is Microsoft. Okay. So whether we're talking about me, you, someone listening on this podcast, a portion of this is luck. Okay. A portion of this is always going to be luck. Okay. But you seem to gain more luck the more you prepare for things. And when you have a bunch of preparation, now you all of a sudden have this magic luck dynamic working in your back pocket too. Now all of a sudden more opportunities start unfolding in front of you. So for me, it was a lot of fumbling forward, but it was the preparation and understanding and knowledge that if I do this at a young age, if I get started with any dollar amount, I know I'm going to be securing a better future for myself. Mm-hmm. To get where I've gotten, it's taken 10 years. Okay. It was purchasing my first house with a VA loan and then renting the 2 rooms out. And because I rented the 2 rooms out, now I had all of that money and I wasn't paying a mortgage. So I was saving that mortgage payment. And then after a year and a half, 2 years, I rolled it into another one and then another one and then another one. So I have 4 pieces of real estate right now with that going that route. And that's much more cost effective to do it that way instead of buying it as an investor and needing 20% down and getting a worse interest rate. I just would go buy a new primary house, live in it for a year, rent out the other rooms, save up the down payment, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. So that's the real estate portfolio. The other side of it is the stock market portfolio. And again, opening a Roth IRA at a very young age. The maximum you can contribute to a Roth IRA is $6,000. Now, I can't touch my Roth IRA until I'm 60. But again, it's the backup plan to the backup plan to the backup plan. Yeah. I did not max out my Roth IRA over 10 years. I probably have maxed it out over 6 years. Okay. But that Roth IRA, even maxing it out at $6,000 every year, it's worth $109,000 right now, which is showing the massive power of compounding if you start at a young age.
Yeah.
On top of that, I have a traditional brokerage account where I hold mutual funds and sector funds. I reinvest those dividends. And I know I'm talking about a lot of stuff that people might not be familiar with. And that's fine. If I'm throwing a lot at you right now, but you're interested in this stuff and you want to get started, like just reach out to me. I will. Yeah. I am very much someone where if I do not stupefy it or dumbify it, I don't understand it. Okay. Yeah. And that's probably what's made me a better teacher with these things. I'm not someone that's going to make things more complex for you. I want to, if I can't understand it, it means I haven't been able to stupefy it enough. So I have those two assets, or those two asset classes. And then now I'm pushing into this digital space, and NFT space, which still learning a lot, but I will say personally, I think we're going to be seeing transnational / digital economies emerging over the next 10, 20 years that are going to be operating side by side with the real world. So you could have transnational cryptocurrency XYZ. I could be a member of that transnational economy. And so could someone in China, and so could someone in France, because they're part of this digital economy that's going to be working side by side. So I think there's a lot of large opportunity there, but much more risky. A majority of my net worth is still locked up in real estate assets and the stock market. And again, my first year in real estate was 18 grand. Then it was 40. Then it was, I think it was like 72 or 90. And then it went up and up. But again, the behavior started at the 18 grand. I still figured out how to claw and scrape a couple pennies together and nickels to start investing. And so because that behavior started at a low income, when I got more and more income, then I was able to really start throwing my weight around heavier and heavier and heavier to get to a point where my highest income earning year was 2 years ago. It was $180,000. I lived on maybe 60 of that, and the rest of it got thrown into real estate and stock market stuff. So, but again, that doesn't happen unless you correct the behavior with your relationship with money.
Yeah. And so you kind of hit on just then. So, I mean, that's because that's the voice I hear. It's like, well, have to give up this, do that. And so what would you say to that person, or what did you have to feel like you had to sacrifice to continue to put the irons in the fires of all those things?
Yeah. There's a difference that people need to understand of completely enjoying every moment right now in the present and destroying your future. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you're enjoying every moment, if you're spending it as fast as you get it, and you're looking at me and going, your future's not guaranteed, this, that, and the other, I can't argue your logic, but could you argue my logic then that you're completely destroying your future self? Absolutely. And so is that a painful thought? Yeah. So is the idea, I ended up posting it on my Instagram creator account a few weeks ago, but it's like, what's harder, investing 30% of your money or working the rest of your life? Pick your hard. Pick your hard. And that stings a little bit. And sometimes I do this mic drop shit with people and they don't like to hear the stuff that comes out of my mouth. But it's like, personally, I would rather invest 30% of my money aggressively while I'm young for 10 years than even try to imagine or think of the idea of ringing up groceries at Walmart, getting paid nothing with no benefits at the age of 80. Is that a painful enough picture for you? I hope it is. And if it's not, I got more work to do.
That's good. That's really good. So I like to ask my guests this question. What do you know now that you wish you knew at 25?
Okay. So this is a big one. Yeah. I used to be the individual that would go spend $1,000 on someone's 3-day workshop on how to properly day trade or swing trade or like, I'll make you the next millionaire and this, that, and the other. And again, I don't have any money. And like, I got this guy promising me the sun, moon, and the stars. It's like, well, why not? And like, I will tell you this much. Statistically, you will not be the next biggest, best stock picker. Statistically, you're not going to be the best day trader. Statistically, you're not going to be the best, swing trader, skim trader, cryptocurrency day trader, whatever it is. The idea of making a lot of money very fast is fetishized in America heavily, very heavily. The reality is, if you don't want to be glued in front of a computer all day, and if you're working all day trying to day trade and getting emotional and getting mad and sad, and you spend 6 hours doing it, and then maybe one day you're up and one day you're down, you've traded one job for another. Again, the most important asset you can have is your time. And so if I'm trading my time for another job in front of a computer, and I may or may not be making money that day, and my emotions are a train wreck because of it, who really got ahead further on living their wealthiest life? That person or Zach, who said, I'm just going to invest in a low-cost index fund, or I'm going to invest in a broad-based sector fund. I'm not going to look at it every day. I know some of those companies are going to die off, but some of them are going to do well. And, it's going to take care of itself because I'm investing in the whole ecosystem. I'm not selectively cherry picking things, thinking I know something more than the markets or hedge fund managers know. So that would be the hands down. If I could go back in time, even if you don't know what you're doing right now, invest in a broad-based S&P 500 index fund and go do the research and look at these things. And if there's someone promising they can make you a bunch of money and they want $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $1,000, $2,000, whether it's in real estate or whether it's in the stock market or whether it's in digital currencies, don't buy into it. It's not true. You would puke if you knew the amount of money I would spend in my early 20s trying to believe in other people thinking they had their best interests and they were going to make me the next millionaire. It's not going to happen. I will show you the very real way, and I will do it for $10 a month. The cost of a Starbucks breakfast. I'm not sitting here trying to gouge people for things. The $10, I don't care if you sign up. Your $10 does nothing in my life, but it shows a commitment that you're serious about wanting to do this stuff. And now I'm going to pour my time and energy into you.
Yeah, that's good. So yeah, that's where I kind of want to end it. Yeah. Where does people find you, Zac?
So I just got done rebranding all of my handles. I just expanded to Facebook and Twitter. So literally this is how you say it for all my handles. If you want to find me on socials. So I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and then I'm starting to do LinkedIn stuff. But again, stick to these three that I'm talking about. So it's at Zac, ZACdiyWealth, WEALTH. So that's how you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. If you're interested in the Patreon stuff, which I do drop exclusive content there, I do drop exclusive episodes there as well as the one-on-one coaching, and then my Excel spreadsheet with all of my positions, real estate, cryptocurrency, everything. And I update that monthly for my patrons. That's patreon.com/ZACdiyWealth. So again, everything, just remember, ZACdiyWealth, you will find me in some way, shape, or form.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, crypto. We didn't get into that, man. That's
no, and it is. I have some very interesting. And again, if people are interested, go listen to my metaverse episode, Web 3.0 episode. I've been doing a lot of research in that space. But at the end of the day, there's been a handful of podcasts I've been on where they already want to bring me back and do another episode. I'm not saying we need to do that next week or whatever, but if it's something you want to do next month or next quarter or something like that, let's keep in touch, man. I feel like there's definitely a lot of good content we could have had here that we could be talking for another 4 hours about that we just weren't able to just because of the time constraints.
Right. So I appreciate you coming on, man. This was a blast. Loved a lot of your thoughts and appreciate you speaking to my audience. So
no, absolutely. And again, to the audience members listening, what Cartwright's building here is very good, and keep consuming the content he's creating. And again, if you ever have any questions, go ahead and head over to me. But Cartwright, I really appreciate us being able to coordinate this. I think this is going to be a great episode for everyone.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thank you for listening to Mentor Forge podcast. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you haven't already, please go to Spotify or Apple and rate and review us. That helps out me tremendously. Find out more people to reach and share a lot of these interviews. So if you haven't done that, please go to Apple Podcasts, rate and review, follow, as well as share with those that this would resonate with. And I'll see you next time.